Settle in. Hello, dreamer. Welcome back to this quiet corner of the night. Loosen your shoulders, soften your jaw. Let your breath arrive like a small tide on a moonlit shore. In and out. Again, a little slower. In and out. This story is a gentle descent, a slow journey through the hidden rooms of the planet you call home. We will drift through rock and time, past sleeping mountains and ancient seas turned to stone, and sink through warm, dark layers where the world keeps its oldest memories. There's nothing you need to do. Just listen and let the story carry you down, a little deeper and deeper still. The elevator beneath the stars. Imagine a small clearing under a sky of velvet blue, midnight teal fading to muted lavender, the last glow of the day dissolving at the horizon. In this clearing waits an elevator, unlike any you've seen. It's round, glass-walled, and quiet as breathing. The doors are open, and the interior glows with a soft, amber light. The kind of light that makes everything look calm, like dusk poured into a room. You step inside. The floor is warm, like sunlit stone. A single brass handrail arcs along the wall. At the center of the panel is one button, engraved with a simple word, down. You press it. The doors sigh closed, and the night's cool air thins into a hush. The elevator begins to move, not with a jolt, but with a floating drift. A slow, soundless slide beneath the grass, beneath the roots, beneath the small lives of beetles and seeds and sleeping earthworms, all tucked into the topmost skin of the planet. Outside the glass, the soil becomes a soft collage, threads of roots, flecks of quartz, tiny shells from a vanished shoreline, a glint of mica like a star in miniature. Your breath finds a steady rhythm, in and out. You are descending through the crust, Earth's thin, familiar crust, the place of mountains, rivers, cities, and night walks and morning coffee. Above, the world is still. Below, the world is warm. A chime as gentle as a bell in fog lets you know the journey has only begun. The quiet of stone, continental crust. The glass grows smoky with color, browns and reds, soft grays, and the pale green of old minerals. Granite passes by like frozen foam. Feldspar, quartz, mica, book-thin sheets that catch the light. You drift past a seam of ancient rock, older than any forest, older than bones, older than feathers. A whisper of history moves through you. Continents colliding, lifting mountain ranges that wore down to sand and were lifted again. Time is patient here. Everything is change, moving so slowly that it looks like rest. The elevator light dims to a warmer tone, honeyed and steady. Your eyelids grow heavy, pleasantly so. In this depth, sound is a suggestion. You can almost hear the murmur of minerals cooling, the shy tick of distant water finding a small path through stone. Breathe in and out. The glass displays a soft inscription, as if written in dew. 35 kilometers. But there is no need to measure. The body knows how to sink. You are carried by gravity and comfort alike, down through the continent's deeper roots. The edges of an old ocean, oceanic crust. With a slow, liquid turn, the elevator glides sideways under the floor of an ocean. The world outside grows darker and finer grained. Basalt flows past in ribbons, black blue and satin smooth, like night hardened into stone. Tiny vesicles, little bubbles, frozen mid-breath, make the rock look like bread with a secret airiness. You imagine the mid-ocean ridges where newborn crust emerges, hot and bright, as it meets cold seawater, the way it travels outward for millions of years, then returns downward in quiet arcs at the continent's edges. A planet exhaling, a planet inhaling in and out. You pass the last pockets of seawater, trapped in minuscule pathways of the rock. Here, the memory of waves is held like a dream held by morning. Not lost, just quieted. The elevator hums. A tone as soft as a long, low violin note. It means approaching the boundary. The moho, a threshold of texture. A plush darkness presses closer to the glass, not threatening, simply deep. Letters, pale and careful, appear on the window. Mohorovichich discontinuity, the moho, a lovely name for a simple change. Rock above, rock below, but different. Above, crust, crisp, brittle, made for mountains and plates that wander. Below, mantle, denser, richer in iron and magnesium. Stone that moves, but slowly, slowly, as if strength and softness were woven together. The elevator eases through this seam of the planet, as if sinking into a warmer blanket. The light deepens, more amber, less gold. Your breath matches the pace of the journey. Your body understands the suggestion of sleep, in and out. Upper mantle, peridotite dreams. The world outside is a soft green-gray, like deep forest leaves seen at dusk. Peridotite, a mantle rock, fills the view with subtle speckles, tiny crystals of olivine and pyroxene, calm as moss on stone. From somewhere you cannot name, a slow, steady glow seems to pulse through the rock. The heat of the planet's long ago beginnings, still traveling outward. Imagine the mantle not as a sea of liquid, but as an ancient, solid flow. Over long ages, it yields and moves, carrying heat as if passing a warm thought from one crystal to the next. Convection rolls like a patient tide, pushing plates, closing oceans, opening new ones. Everything here believes in time. You do not need to keep track. The elevator does it for you. You need only drift between waking and sleeping, between thinking and feeling, in and out. The glass fogs with a soft pattern, not from your breath, but from a change in the rock itself. Grains align, minerals tilt and twist, like silk being drawn through a ring. A slow fabric of stone. The transition zone, rain in stone. A silver script appears, 410 kilometers, 520, 660, not as measurements you must hold, but as gentle mileposts, the way trees along a road can tell you you're getting closer to home. Here, pressure invites minerals to become new versions of themselves, olivine adjusting into denser shapes the way snow compacts into ice. When water arrives in small, secret ways, tucked into the very structure of minerals, it changes how the mantle moves, like rain that softens the ground, like kindness that changes a conversation. You feel the suggestion of that rain, not wetness, but ease. It moves through the rock and through you. Your breath lengthens by instinct. A hush gathers, in and out. You pass through a zone where small diamonds sometimes grow, not the bright kind that sparkle in windows, but tiny, quiet crystals that form when carbon is tucked away and pressed for long, long years. They are the patient memory of forests, oceans, and ancient atmospheres rewritten by depth. Lower mantle, a slow sea of warmth. The light becomes coppery as if dusk has leaned closer. Outside, the rock appears smoother, more uniform, like a sea without waves, seen from very high above. This is the lower mantle, vast, strong, deeply warm. Imagine continents drifting above while this layer carries heat upward in towers and sheets. A choreography that takes millions of years for a single step. You do not need to follow the steps. You are simply carried. In the distance, if distance means anything here, great plumes rise, like candles in slow motion. Elsewhere, cooler slabs sink, back toward the depths, the long return of plates that once bore islands, forests, and the footprints of animals now turn to stone. Everything cycles, everything rests, everything becomes, in and out. You might imagine, if you wish, the faintest sound, a bass line under the music of the earth, the tremor of tiny quakes too small to feel, the flexing of tides that lift and lower the planet by the width of a whisper. The elevator glides on. You are very comfortable now. Limbs heavy, thoughts light, awareness like a small candle whose flame will not go out but no longer needs to be bright. The D layer, ember at the hearth. The window darkens until it is almost black, and then a glow appears like banked coals. You have arrived at a curious, changeable border. Geologists call it D double prime. It is not a sharp line, but a region where rock becomes something else under heat and pressure, where minerals rearrange into flavors of themselves that only exist here. The elevator slows, honoring the quiet complexity. Outside, mantle's last whispers give way to a more fluid world. You feel a warmth like the nearness of a fireplace in winter. Not hot, just deeply soothing. In and out. The floor beneath your feet gives a gentle, buoyant sigh, the way a raft might when it meets a lake. A soft chime. A message on the glass. Outer core, ahead. Outer core, the river of iron. The doors remain closed, but the world outside has become liquid. A slow, glowing river of molten iron alloy, turning like a thought that never ends. The color is not a single red or gold, but a layered glow, as if sunrise were folded into molten metal and asked to move without hurry. You drift just inside this boundary, as a guest at the edge of a warm sea. Convection rolls here too, columns rising and falling, driven by heat released from the inner core and by the slow cooling of the planet. In this moving metal, electric currents bloom. From these currents, a magnetic field that reaches far into space, a cloak the planet wears to deflect the fierce weather of the sun. You picture the aurora, green and rose veils at the poles, a delicate dance written by charged particles and the planet's own shield. And you feel, just for a moment, that what happens in the deep can become beauty in the sky, in and out. The elevator floats along the boundary, like a leaf riding a circular eddy. Tiny harmonies, almost sounds, almost not, brush the air. The music of magnetism imagined as a lullaby. You rest more deeply. You are safe here, seen by no one and seeing everything. A pause between worlds. The elevator dims its lights until the room is dreamlike. A cushiony bench unfolds from the wall, as if it had been waiting for you to notice. You sit, or rather, you allow yourself to be supported. In and out. The display shows a simple diagram. A circle within a circle within a circle, like ripples paused in time.
You're at the second ring from the center.
The last ring glows softly. When you're ready, the elevator seems to say without words, "We will continue. You are ready." Inner core, the quiet heart. A final chime. The elevator eases through another thin veil. Not a wall, but a change of state. The liquid slows, the view steadies, and then solidity. The inner core appears, not as dull iron, but as pale, silvery brightness, like frost with its own soft light. Here, under pressures beyond imagining, iron becomes a crystal, solid, ordered, and quietly radiant, with heat left from the planet's birth and from the slow freezing of the core itself. Somewhere in this vast, compressed sphere, the iron atoms sit in delicate arrangement, vibrating with warmth, passing their energy along like friends sharing a secret they've known for a very long time. The elevator settles into a gentle hover, a respectful distance from the core's surface. You feel the calm that comes from arriving at the center of something. Not the end, not the goal, but the heart. In and out. If you listen the way you listen to your own breathing, you might imagine hearing the smallest, oldest ticking. The inner core crystallizing one grain at a time, growing like a snowflake that takes a billion winters to unfold. It does not hurry. The planet does not ask it to. The core's lullaby. The room dims to a pearl gray glow. The bench invites you to lie back, and you do. Weight sinking into cushion, spine releasing, hands warm and open. You think of all the journeys that led to this one, raindrops that became rivers, rivers that ferried sediments to seas, seas that turned to stone and returned to the depths, mountains that rose quietly from those depths and wore down into sand again. A billion small motions that make a world. Here at the center, you feel a matching truth inside yourself. That rest is part of motion. That stillness is not empty. It is the pause that lets everything continue with kindness. Breathing in and out. The inner core brightens and dims in a patient pulse. You can feel more than see. Your heartbeat listens and eases into the same unhurried rhythm. A thought arrives, not a command, not a plan, just a soft realization. You are held by this planet, by soil and stone, by mantle and metal, by rivers and ridges and the quiet core. You have always been. The return begins, slow as dawn. When the elevator turns to rise, it does so the way night becomes morning, without sharpness, without rush. The inner core's silver brightness bows behind pearl haze. The outer core's warm river gathers you at its edge. You drift upward like a leaf returning through deep water. Around you, the movements that power the magnetic field continue. Currents folding over currents, an endless gentle braid. In and out. At the D layer, the amber glow welcomes you once more. Minerals switch their arrangements like dancers changing partners in the low light of a ballroom. The warmth softens to a memory. The lower mantle opens, vast, grand, trustworthy. You ride a steady upwelling, the counterpart to the descent you have known. Far above, continents host their weather. Rain on roofs, wind in eaves, tide on pier. All of it connected in ways that do not need your attention to be true. You continue to rest. Through the transition, a second time. As you rise through the transition zone, minerals return to their earlier shapes, like travelers coming home and slipping into familiar clothes. You feel a small lift in the body, not excitement, just comfort, like returning to a room where the furniture knows your name. In and out. The elevator remembers the paths of tiny diamonds, the rain in stone, the quiet changes that make the mantle supple. You remember nothing and everything, the way sleep remembers for you. Upper mantle, the long exhale. The forest green of peridotite returns. You pass a place where molten rock once began its ascent, rising through cracks to feed a volcano that painted the surface with new land. The elevator does not linger. It is enough to know that such pathways exist, that creation and rest are neighbors. A faint scent of warm minerals touches the air, or perhaps you dream it. Either way, it is comforting. Breathe in and out. The moho again, a door you know. The moho greets you like a threshold you've crossed in both directions, leaving and returning. The elevator moves through with the same unhurried grace it had before. The light shifts from deep amber to dusk gold. You're almost home to the crust, to the familiar thinness that carries mountains and oceans, and your own small life. Mugs and blankets, favorite songs, the smell of rain on warm pavement, the cool spot on the pillow when you turn it over in the night. There is time for one more rest. In and out. Continental roots, the library of stone. The view shows strata like pages: sandstone, shale, limestone, each a chapter written in silt and reef and far-off shores. Fossils appear in silhouette: a fern's careful lace, the curve of a shell, the fine architecture of a tiny spine. They're not ghosts. They're the handwriting of life, preserved by patience. You pass quietly. You are not here to gather, only to witness. A vein of quartz threads the wall with a milk-white calm. Mika winks like slow lightning. Somewhere far above, snow begins to fall on a mountain you cannot see. Somewhere far below, the inner core continues to grow one grain at a time. Everything is connected, but nothing is demanding. A room of roots. The subterranean garden. For a short while, the elevator slows beside an underground cavern where tree roots descend like chandeliers of living wood. Moisture beads on them, magnifying tiny hairs that drink the dark. Small, pale salamanders rest in pools as clear as glass. Drops fall at measured intervals, and the sound is a metronome for sleep. In and out. The elevator glides on. You leave the cavern as if leaving a library where you have read nothing and somehow understood everything you needed. Earth's surface, the door opening to night. The glow grows lighter. Stone gives way to soil, to roots, to a drift of sand. The elevator slows until motion becomes the idea of motion. The doors open with a hush. You are back in the clearing. The sky is the deep color of rest. A few stars hang like careful punctuation marks in a sentence written just for you. The night air is cool and soft. You step out and stand for a moment, feeling the steadiness of the ground under your feet, the long support of all that lies beneath: crust, mantle, outer core, inner core, and the simple gift of gravity that holds you here like an embrace. You take one last slow breath in and out. Epilogue. The pillow of the world. As you return to bed or drift deeper where you already lie, something gentle lingers. A sense of belonging, vast and ordinary at once. You are a small, bright part of a world that is warm at heart. You are carried by cycles that began before your first breath and will continue long after your last sigh of this evening. If your mind wanders, let it wander through rock and quiet fire. Let it follow rivers of iron and the pulse of the inner core. Let it rest in the library of stone and the garden of roots. You are safe. You are home. Sleep now. The planet will keep turning. The core will keep its watch. And your breath, in and out, will keep time with the oldest lullaby there is. Good night.